don't see the Jews going to the Germans and say, teach me about my history. There's a reason. So the African Canadian Heritage Association was honored this year, maybe last year, to invite Morris to our program to come and speak to us about the Morris contribution to civilization. And the brother came did a fantastic job with the full house, and we still discuss some of the lessons that he brought with him. This is what we need to expose our children to. The good works by people that are committed to the upliftment of humanity. And this is what you were about. So it was essential that we open the doors. And you know the doors are always open. I don't want to take too much time, but we cannot survive as an organization without the support of our community. We cannot survive as an organization without the support of the parents that wake up every Saturday morning and bring their children to the program. You know, Saturday is a day to do chores, to run errands, to do so much things. But they realize that if we're going to invest in our children, they have to make that sacrifice. So the program is not only about the children, the program is also about the parents. Because if the parents are committed to what we're doing, they will ensure that the children are also committed. There's a saying that we have to take our streets back. I'd like to defer on that by saying that that's really not important. We need to take our children back. It's about them. It's about the legacy that we pass on to them. So when you see the struggles that they're going through today in the school system, on the streets, in the jails, we ask ourselves why. So that's why I say we have work to do. We have work to do. So when I see the work of the Moors, it's part of our history, and our children must know about it. It must not be in the back pages. It must be on the front page. It must be in the first chapter, because that's where it all began. So I congratulate this organization for the work that you're doing. As I've said, the doors are always open for those people that are committed to the upliftment of humanity, especially our people. I'd like to close by just saying, we need a new code. We need a new code. CODE talks to commitment to our children, that is the C, through organization, such as your work, and the work of the African Canadian Heritage Association, through determination and discipline, which we are confident will result in empowerment, self-empowerment, not to be empowered by somebody else, for us to empower ourselves through education. So the code, CODE, commitment to our children, through discipline and determination, organization, resulting in empowerment and education. And that's the only way we will succeed. Thank you very much for having me here today.
The universe is constantly trying to be in balance, equilibrium, right? Positive, negative, push, pull, masculine, feminine. So, here in the temple, we want to be in balance with nature, love our mothers, right? And so when we talk about us, it's really we, because you all said that you love your mother, so you're the same as us. And that's the perspective that we come from. So we'll go through a few definitions. Perspective, relationship or proportion of the parts of a whole, regarded from a particular standpoint or point in time. A specific point of view in understanding or judging things or events, especially that one that allows them shows them their true relations to one another. The ability to see things in a true relationship. So if you stare at one dot on that screen, what color do you see? Right? And then what color are the other dots? And now stare at a different dot. And now what are the other colors? I'm hearing gray, I'm hearing that they're changing. So can we have some consensus, please? Right. So ultimately, without perspective, there is no truth. Right? So some people might have the perspective that the government does not like the Moor science and the Moors, and they're after us. But that's just like some people saying that they saw dots that were changing, when clearly the picture that I showed before was of a grid with two white lines intersecting. So if you're looking at two white lines intersecting, you should be seeing white. But you're saying you saw gray and colors changing and you saw black. How can two white lines intersecting be black? Right? What was your perspective? Maybe if I sat where you sat, I would see that too. Some people think that, the Moorish information is irrelevant. Again, that's what perspective is that coming from? Is that the actual observable truth, the scientific truth? Okay. Some truths that we do know is that we live in a world where we have to be diplomatic with one another, and not just interpersonally, but internationally. And so that brings me to the question of a responsible citizen, right? So, are you another Negro, right? Even if you do work hard, pay your taxes, right? You don't break any of what you know to be laws. You could read. There's nothing at all. There's nothing wrong with that. But ultimately, right, you'll find that blackness that you hold on to, right, is just that. It's blackness. It is what it is. Okay? So that's why I want to bring us back to a bright Moorish future. That's the flag that we use as our national flag as Moors. There's also the flag here. This flag is the flag of our forefathers. Okay? It's a flag that has been flying in this land for over 50,000 years. And to show you, the L stands for love, the T for truth, the P for peace, and the F for freedom. And you see the justice on the sword. The reason we do what we do, okay, and the reason we talk about movement and the movement growing is because when you teach someone the way things really are, especially from young, then it doesn't matter if everyone else in the world doesn't know. Because knowledge that other people don't know, is a benefit to the person who knows it. It's not a detriment. Okay, so we do it for our posterity, like the brother was just talking about from the ACHA. Thank you for that presentation. That was beautiful because that's what it's about. It's about the future. It has nothing to do with, like it says here, your backside. Posterity, right, is all of a person's descendants opposed to ancestry, all succeeding generations. And anyone who has children or plans on having children does not want to bring them into a wild, uncivilized, chaotic world. They want peace, right? Like the P on the flag. And so that's why we don't eat from this tree of good and evil. What that means is that nature doesn't know good and evil, only balance and imbalance. So people might perceive or have their perceptions of what's going on, or who's who, or who the Moors are and what we're about. But that's just a perception. The truth is the truth, right? And when you study the truth, you don't have to worry about good and evil. If the truth is that there's a lion on the stage 2 feet from me, and I'm not going to be able to get away, I'm going to die, because that lion's probably going to maul me to death. But that's just the truth. And it's not even necessarily evil, right? It's nature. So when we talk about civics, we're talking about being responsible for this information. And not to the point of having to study how a lawyer studies or how a judge might study, but there are certain basic concepts which have been lost by the wayside over the years. And as I'll show you, that the Moorish Science Temple is set up to teach these things. It's a learning institute. And we'll go through the definition to discover that that's exactly what temple means. The religious aspects, you might be surprised, have very little bearing on the matter. So earlier Cujo touched on that civil liter mortuus, which means dead in the eyes of the law. There's a definition from the Black's Law Dictionary. And it's called the Black's Law Dictionary after a man named Henry something Black. And so when I talk about law, I don't mean the rules and regulations, acts and bills individuals put out and bring back when it serves certain groups. Okay? I mean universal law. Those same principles of civics, international contract law, there's 7 Hermetic principles, and all of those articles, both written and unwritten, which are properly and divinely aligned with the goodwill of all life, including the Constitution for the United States of America, Republic Proper, which, by the way, is also inclusive of only 7 original articles. Okay, how divine, right? Truly, this upholding of our civic responsibilities is not an overly strenuous or intensive objective. It is feasible, practical, reasonable, and comprehensive in its application. It is something that the more of us that are actively involved in it, the lighter the load. Many hands make light work, each one teach one, etc. The key is to know that these truths to be self-evident, knowing that no one piece of paper, okay, or written document gives us the rights stated therein. We write them down, declare them, and hold them for posterity, and as an honor to those who compiled them in the first place. They also stand as superior rule over all these lesser laws, bills, acts, and regulations, which regardless of our level of knowledge, I'm sure all here have come into agreement with or obeyed at some time. Yeah. So, how many in here have had a traffic ticket? Right? So, how many in here have had a speeding ticket? How many in here have had a noise complaint? Right? Did you not cooperate with the authorities? So, if it makes sense to cooperate with the authorities for a lesser bylaw or act or regulation, Why don't you not study the Constitution and know whether you're in or in bounds of the Constitution?